right, folks. Today we are going to speak about the Great Northern War.
Indeed we are, Tom.
Not just the Northern War. There was a Northern War, too, was there not? A Northern War?
I believe so.
And a Great Northern War.
Yes.
All right, so we're going to talk about the Great one. Who cares about the regular Northern War? All right, for those of you that don't know, this is the Tell Me a Story podcast. Welcome. My name is Tom Daly, and I am gathered here once again with my good friend. He is the Doctor of History, Sean McCarthy. Sean, how are you?
Very well, Tom. And yourself?
I'm hanging in there.
Good stuff. Glad to hear it.
Awesome. And I don't know if I said it yet. Did I say it's episode 17?
I'm not sure that you did. You might have.
All right.
Yeah.
It's episode 17, folks. If you're watching all along, and if you're not, go back and get caught up.
100%.
So, Great Northern War. Sean, when is the first time you heard about this big battle?
Well, probably not till I was in university. I took a history of Russia course, and it figured, prominently in like the first semester of that. So yeah.
And that's the other thing. We are in, of course, Canada. We are in a northern country that's been involved in some wars as well, but this one doesn't involve us. It's the other northern folks, the people that we like to play hockey against, the Swedes and the Finns and the Russians. Isn't that right?
That's right. And the Poles and the Danes and
okay,
yeah,
the
Ottomans even.
The Ottomans even. Oh yeah. So yeah, the Great
the
Great Northern War, and dipping right down to Turkey, are we?
we certainly are.
All right. So yeah, Great Northern War. Again, why we're covering this? My wife is Swedish, and I spent some time in Sweden, and it's interesting. It's a little country over there, and you don't really think it's going to be a big empire that's going to get involved in a lot of wars. Certainly today, they'd like to stay neutral as much as possible. But that wasn't the case one time. One time they had quite the empire, and they owned a lot of land. Yeah, Swedish Empire owned Norway, parts of Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and so on and so forth.
Yeah,
so,
even into Germany had some territory. Yeah,
that is correct. Yeah, and I was surprised when you're over there. You see those maps, and they've drawn a lot of maps on that continent over the years. It felt like every year it was changing. So, Anyway, Great Northern War, you learned about it in university.
Yep.
I learned about it, kind of through my wife and by visiting over there. So, all right.
You were on the battleground, Tom.
I was on the battleground. Should we jump right into that right away?
Well, sure, we can. Whatever you like.
All right. So, we're going to talk about the kings that were involved. And the king of Sweden at that time. Again, this is what year is it, John? We're way back in the 1700s here.
That's right. I think 1701 to 1722. I think.
Right. Okay. So it's a long one.
It is,
and it is the king with two names actually, King Carl the 12th, and sometimes he's recorded as King Charles the 12th. Have you noticed that?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you have any idea why that is? Why do they have two names for him?
Well, I'm thinking, it depends on who's doing the talking, right? So,
right.
I'm guessing because Carl and Charles, I think, are derivations of one another, right?
Are they?
I think so. I think so. Yeah.
I wasn't sure because I could see if his name, say, was, I don't know, something really like, I'm drawing a blank now too, but some sort of Swedish, like Anders or some name like that. They start calling him Andrew or something,
right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And, but Carl is actually a name in English as well, too, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it's Carl with a K, though.
He's Carl with a K, yeah. All right, so they're calling him, he's Carl over there, he's Charles, when the British are writing it down.
Indeed, exactly.
Yes. You're reading those good English articles, it's written as Charles. Anyway, his real name was Carl, and Carl the 12th. There's 12 of them, and he was quite the guy. From what I remember reading about him over there, a bit of a cold guy. Quite the,
true.
Yeah, calculated. Some say he really, he was made for war.
Yeah.
He was a very battle-hardened king or whatever, and he wanted to rule as much as possible, so... And he was doing quite well, wasn't he? And then who's in Russia at this time?
Well, he is opposed by Peter the First, Tsar Peter the First, soon to be styled Peter the Great.
Peter the Great.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. All right, so that's where things really start kind of taking some losses, I think, when he goes up against Peter the Great.
That's true.
But anyway, back to the place, the battleground I visited was over in what is today Norway, just across the border from Sweden, where my wife is from. There's a little town called Halden, and the name of the castle was Fredriksten. So Fredrikstone, I believe, would be the translation of it. Fredriksten, if I'm saying it right. big fortress, and this was built sometime back in the 1600s, I do believe. And it's always so amazing to see those things. They were built so long ago, and yeah, it was to breach this castle. You're running uphill in armor, and stuff like that. You can just imagine, and countless times they tried to take it until finally they did get through. The Swedes did get through at one point in this battle and managed to take over the castle. So yeah, they had taken that part of Norway for the Swedish Empire. And the really interesting part of the story that I found, when you're touring the castle today, you see the scariest of all is the dungeons. Looking at that, and just hollowed out into the side of a hill in Norway, how freezing cold that would be, and this tiny little barred window in it, and just black as you can. Like I said, and. So yeah, old King Carl, he gets shot by a Norwegian. It was debated for a long time if he was shot by a Swede or a Norwegian.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, shot right through the temple of the head, and that was the end of him. And they have the different sculptures there that you can see, and there's a pretty cool one of him lying there with the bullet hole right through the temple. And from what I heard, some of the story goes that it wasn't even a musket ball that got him. It was in fact a button.
Was it?
Yeah, that somebody was actually out of musket balls apparently, and used a button off of their jacket, and that's what got him right straight in the temple. And again, the bit of a mystery was it actually shot by a Norwegian, or was it shot by a Swede? Was it by accident, or was it a case of we're tired of fighting for this guy? things are going south, and we're fed up with this war, so maybe take him out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they dug him up, too. That's something I just found out. That There's actually a photograph of his skeleton. We'll put that in the thumbnail. That'll make people, it's creepy as hell.
Really?
And you'll see proof that your hair keeps growing after you're dead, because he's got this wild fro going on. It's just, it's like the Crypt Keeper with, I don't know, Jimi Hendrix's hair. it's wild. And... so we'll definitely put that in the thumbnail, because it's and he's dressed in like the poofy,
of course,
like the costumes we wear. We're playing our 1700s characters,
exactly.
Which felt good. It's like, oh my god, that costume looks like ours. It looks kind of fake. So like, if it's good enough for the king,
exactly,
no more criticizing what we have.
That's it.
All right. So yeah, I did a terrible job. I went right and I told the end of the story first. So now we're gonna back it up,
but you're right. That he was a very tenacious man. He started the war. He was 15. So he was a young guy.
Yeah.
And, so really, it's probably fair to say that, he never married, never had children, so far as I know, so, really his whole life, as you said, this guy was really a warrior, right?
Mm-hmm.
And really didn't want to give up the fact that, of course he was losing by that point.
Yep.
And that's, as you say, that's a reason why. Now, have they determined for good and all who it was that did the shooting?
I think now that they kind of agree that it was a Norwegian that got him, but that's, again, I think it's up for debate.
Right.
The scholars have been going back. Even when I was over there, which was about 10 years ago now or so, close to it must have, when I saw it, there was debate then, I know, about where it actually come from.
Yeah.
Somebody else actually had there. We have a cool picture we'll put it up with my father-in-law, Dog, not Dog the Bounty Hunter, no. His name is Dag, pronounced Dog, in the stocks. So, like, they put...
Oh, yes, sure.
Which is kind of funny. So that's where they would have put you if you were captured in Swedish back in those days.
Mm-hmm.
Still do that if you're Swedish, put you in the stocks. And
really?
The children throw brown cheese at you. No, I'm making that up. Yeah. Not the brown cheese. That's actually a thing. Yeah? Norway has a brown cheese, which is like a cross between kind of like a white Monterey Jack, but it's not. It's brown, and it's kind of sweet, kind of like a fudge. So it's a cross between It's interesting. Yeah. It's much better than I described it, but it's worth checking out.
Sure.
If anybody ever goes over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's pretty much it for me as far as I got in Norway.
Okay.
Any other time it was just at the airport in Oslo, so I didn't see a lot. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so that little place in Halden at Fredrikstad.
Right on.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, that really was sort of, the end of an empire, really, at that point, because, Sweden accepts peace.
Yep.
Not long after Charles XII is dead, and his sister, I think, succeeds him, and the Great Northern War ends.
It's over then, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So you really do get the impression that he's the only guy that's kind of keeping it going at this point. So, yeah.
So has he already, because I always found it interesting that they owned like that land over there in, over on on the continent, Estonia and Latvia and Lithuania. So at that
Yeah.
time, is that when they lose those to Russia? Does that happen, or is that?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think they keep Finland after that war, but not for much longer.
Yeah,
you
okay.
know, but they keep Finland, but they lose, you know, all of that territory as a result of the war, because most of the Russian campaign is being fought, you know, in that area and then further south, and that's where the Ottomans get involved.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's so weird. I did not know that the Ottoman Empire was involved in the Great Northern War.
And Charles XII was hiding out with the Ottomans there for a while.
Oh,
apparently.
really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Weird. So they were allies.
They were.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Swedes and the Ottomans were together. Were
Wow.
together against the Russians.
That's
You know,
really
yeah.
weird. Yeah, that's a wild combination. I would never have bet on that one.
That's right. Yeah.
Even today, with sentiment the way it is over in Sweden, I wouldn't have bet on that one.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yep. That's it.
Ottoman Empire, you don't talk. We said before one time that's an empire you don't hear anything about.
No. Very, very rare for sure. That's it. But yeah, but of course they and the Russians were kind of perennial enemies. They were always seemed to be fighting one another, you know, on again, off again. So yeah, that's it. But I think Peter the Great knew, you know, from previous conflicts that Sweden had a better army, you know, more well trained, battle hardened, whatever, you know. But I think he figured that if you could kind of stretch it all over everywhere, it was hard for it to, you know, it couldn't really, the cream of it would be lost.
Yeah.
And of course, like I say, I mean, as Russia very often does, you know, just sort of uses masses.
Oh yeah, that hasn't changed.
You know,
that's still
that's it.
the same
So,
strategy.
yeah. So that's kind of how he went about doing it. And also, like I say, kind of took the attitude that, yeah, we're going to lose and we might lose a lot, but eventually they're going to teach us how to beat them. So that's kind of how it worked out, right?
Yeah.
So, but I mean, at the end of the day, Peter the Great didn't do much better in terms of, like, when he died, there was another, like, again, he left Russia in chaos, you know, because he refused to name an heir.
Okay. So
There's a story that apparently when he dies, like he just before he dies, he says, "Leave all to," and then he goes.
oh wow, on a cliffhanger.
That's it.
Wow, that's a heel move.
It really is. It really is. So Russia enters another, you know, time of troubles.
Time of troubles. There's been a lot of time of troubles that keeps coming up. Wow.
That's it. So yeah, I think there's a different name for that one, but yeah, that's another time where nothing seems to be kind of going right, and it's not until Catherine the Great comes along and kind of sets everything right again.
Gotcha. But yeah, no, it's funny. Not funny, but just really amusing. Being odd. Yeah. And interesting being over there because I like to, Sweden, not a country you would think of at all. That's going to get involved in this fierce battle, especially with Norway today too, because there's, again, right on that border, there's people across that bridge, you know, the way we cross from Newcastle to Chatham and think nothing of it. It's just, so I guess things can be really bad at one time and can actually get really good again. So,
That's it. Yes. So someday we'll be able to cross between Newcastle and Chatham.
That's right. Someday without getting shot at.
Exactly.
Now, it might take longer than it took Norway and Sweden to settle their differences. Right. Yeah. It's really interesting because I was reading about the king. It says he fled back to a place in Sweden called Svinesund. That's really in the area where my wife is from. And today it's like, I know where that bridge is, and there's like a huge candy store when you cross. Like more than one, because again, massive candy stores they have right along the Swedish-Norwegian border. Look them up, and so I just picture in my mind running back for his candy, you know what I mean, and hiding out there in the woods. Yeah, that's the other thing. It's right in the woods. This huge candy store. And candy store.
Well, the 6'6" Russian giant is chasing after you.
Exactly.
Because that's it. Because Peter the Great apparently was also, you know, incredibly tall.
Yes.
You know, he was a huge man. You know, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, and the paintings of Karl, he looks pretty thin, I think, anyway, doesn't he? He doesn't look like not a massive guy. But the Russians were also pretty good at propaganda. So
that's true too. That's true too.
They might have bribed some painters too, because we're dealing with paintings back then. So
true.
Get pretty much anything done.
That's it.
All right. So the Great Northern War, in all of your, I guess it's too far back for our Canadian history, isn't it? The early 1700s. There's not too much of a. I'm just wondering.
Well, I mean, there would be wars going on here at that time, I guess, between the British and the French.
Yeah.
Because I think at the same time as that's going on, the War of Spanish Succession, which is like the war where Nova Scotia is taken by the British. Happens.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so around the same time. Yeah.
Interesting. So there's also war over in this part of the north.
Yeah.
As well. Mm-hmm. So Sweden doesn't have any. They never were like allies with Britain or France, were they?
I think at the start of this war, the British helped the Swedes in like the early stages, because the British want to make sure that the Baltic Sea remains open for trade. But very quickly they get involved in their own conflict, and
we're done.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
You're on your own.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Interesting. Yeah, I guess, and there wouldn't be any marriages at this point. Like the British royal family were very strategic there, but that was later on. I think they're definitely related today to some of the Swedish royalty and the Norwegian royalty, I do believe. And I feel like that's through Victoria.
Probably. Yeah. Now, Peter the Great did spend some time in London.
Really?
I think I'm almost certain he met William III, but for sure he apparently met and had a correspondence with Isaac Newton.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, Newton's around at this time too.
Yeah. So the story goes anyway. That because he was very much about like Russia needs to be more European.
Okay.
And that's one of the reasons why he found St. Petersburg, because St. Petersburg is supposed to be this more European city than Moscow, which is this old kind of,
it's pretty far
Slavic
over there,
fort. Yeah. The window on the west, as they used to say.
That was St. Petersburg. Okay.
Yeah.
You can watch some.
I guess so, yeah.
Interesting stuff, yeah. I know one of the other theories I think I heard when I was over there that had Carl managed, to keep Norway and not get shot in the head, that perhaps my wife's hometown, Strömstad, actually might have become the capital.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because Stockholm is over like on the east, right? And she's over on the west of the country. So that would make a little more sense. You'd kind of put it right in the center sort of before. Yeah.
Yeah.
More as like a strategic. So I know people like to surmise, like, ooh, imagine if Strömstad could have this little fishing town.
Well, I mean, there's always that sort of idea. I mean, even here you've got like Howard's, like up the southwest. Apparently, I've seen plans where they said, well, that was supposed to be the capital after the 1825 fire.
Oh, really?
I don't know if there's any truth to it or not, but it was proposed apparently, and I've seen plans for like, Howardsville was going to be this huge community, which it never became.
Yeah,
but,
yeah, that one really surprises me.
Yeah,
I knew about like Millerton. That was because of the guy named Miller. That was going to be. It was the town, or before Newcastle became the township. It was the spot to be.
Yeah. Well, that's it. You never can tell what strange fortune.
What strange fortune?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
No wars fought though for Howard's or Millerton.
Can you imagine?
Who knows? Yeah. The Chatham Newcastle War hasn't been settled yet.
That's true. That's true. That's true. I mean, I heard that there was a royalist party that was assembled on the Great Rapids, but that was about
Oh yeah.
Which I guess was in episode 4 or 5 when we talked about royal visits.
Go back and watch that one. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. All right.
Yes, indeed.
So the Great Northern War, anything else you need to add there about that, Sean?
I don't think so. It's an interesting conflict, you know what I mean? And it's interesting, like I say, that you get to be, you get to walk
that was the thing for me, because a lot of people I know, when you see walk battlefields, you walk like the ones in France and in Holland and whatnot and stuff like that. But it's like, oh my God, this is, it's cool in a little place like Norway. And again, from a time period too, so far back, but it's not far back at all to them. That's the thing.
Sure.
It's like, oh my God, everything's so old.
And I guess at the same time, you know what I mean? And to walk a battlefield where a king,
died. That's the thing too. Yeah. Because
we're probably at the tail end at that point of the time when kings are actually in the field with their armies.
That's true. That's the other thing. Yeah, he was, I think one of the stories I read, he was like inspecting a trench or something like that.
Okay,
can you imagine? He's really out there, isn't he? Yeah, I could have swore that he was inspecting something that they were building. It was a trench or what, but
yeah.
That feels like a job he could have got someone else to do.
Probably so.
He was micromanaging a little bit, I think. Yeah.
That's it.
But yeah, I like the button idea because those big old brass buttons or whatever, they would be worse than a musket ball, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, metallurgy is not my strong point, but I mean, brass is not a very hard metal, so you know what I mean? It's probably going to smoosh and cause all kinds of damage.
All melt into your skull. Yeah. Because I remember that, like I said, they have the bullet hole right there, and we'll put some of these pictures up, these sculptures. I remember another one they have where they're doing like very primitive surgery on people, cutting off limbs and stuff like that. So there was a room filled with, or like a bin or something filled with all of these sculptures of legs and arms they cut off of people. So pretty grim stuff. Yeah. Remember, it's like the big crucifix that they would have carried like into the battle too. They were still doing that there.
Yep. For sure. Yep. That's it. Yeah, you read about those surgeons where they would be competing to like who can hack off the limb the fastest, like who can develop the
Could you imagine?
The best strategy or the best way of doing it so that it's done in the quickest amount of time.
God.
Yeah,
what people went through in those times.
Exactly.
Jeez.
And I mean, and this is medical advancement right here. We can get this limb off, in under 30 seconds.
Yeah. And what are they fighting infection with back in those days too?
That's
not a lot.
Probably the same thing they've got for anesthesia.
Yeah. Vodka.
That's it. Half for your belly and half for this wound.
That would make a good.
And the Lord be with you.
That'd make a good Absolute vodka commercial. Come through Sweden. Yeah, who's the guy? There's some old guy on the Absolute vodka bottle. Get him off and put the king with the bullet hole through the side of his head. Yeah, that's a premonition.
If we'd have washed it out with that, it would have been. You would have lived another 10 years.
You'll feel like you were shot in the head sometimes. There's a hell of a hangover off them flavored Absolute vodkas.
Okay.
Yeah. You remember Creepy Dave, my good friend Andrew Hershock, pouring a bottle of the Mandarin one, I think, the Mandarin vodka down his neck and spinning him around in circles a few times and shoving him out of your apartment. And he took off running.
Okay.
Yeah, like an Olympic runner down the street. Look at him go! He's running across the Burrard Bridge. There's no stopping him now.
There you go. Yeah.
But good times.
Apparently.
Yeah. Oh God. So yeah, Great Northern War. Yep. Don't do what I just said. Don't drink entire polish. Not the flavored stuff, anyway. Cool bit of history.
Yeah.
Any movies or anything ever made about that? Not. It's probably over there in Swedish or Norwegian or something. They might have made something, but I don't think of anything.
The only thing I can think of is I know that they did. I want to say in the 80s, maybe the late 70s. They did a mini-series on Peter the Great. And
okay.
That was a part of it.
That would be part of it,
But must have been like a British thing because it seems like there was a lot of like Vanessa Redgrave and Laurence Olivier and all those kind of actors were in it. So
okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Because I think it'd make a hell of a story, a hell of a Netflix series or something, especially from with the focus on this king, King Carl, and make it a real study on him, what he was. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, like 15. You're going to spend the next 20 some odd years, fighting this war.
Do you have any brothers or sisters or anything? Do you know of?
Well, he had a sister because I think his sister succeeded him.
Okay, you mentioned that.
But I don't know. I don't know about extended family beyond that. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, his father died just before the war started, and I think the idea was, this kid can't stop us, so let's start this war. Okay.
But yeah, he's actually
very good. Yeah,
quite the fighter.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And from a country that you don't associate with fighting.
That's true. But at that time, it was producing, some of the best warriors, in Europe.
Oh yeah, there was some Viking blood over there.
No question.
Yeah, that's a story for down the road. The Viking impact here in this Miramichi area.
Yes,
where we live. But yeah, so that's a little bit. If you're watching this and you're wondering what's our connection to Mirror Mache, it's pretty much me, because my wife being from Sweden, and I had the opportunity to visit that cool old fortress and see where an actual king got shot in the head and died. So
yeah.
All right, and if you haven't been shot in the head just yet, you should go check out Creepy Dave's. Look at that.
Even if you have been, go on over.
Have been with your last. It says the life.
Pour some absolute vodka in there.
In the hole.
That's it.
Yeah, and with your last.
Slosh it around.
Your last dying click. With your last bit of strength, given that view.
That's it.
And hit subscribe. Yeah. And hit subscribe.
That's it.
And the gates of heaven will swing open for you.
Indeed.
For that charitable work of charity. All right, Sean. Yeah, stuff that we have going on. This is coming out quite a while from when we're recording it.
Yes,
but we'll promote the summer stuff for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So be sure and come and see us if you're in the Miramichi area. We are performing pretty much, if you land here, there's, look us up because we're doing something. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we're at French Fort Cove doing the Headless Nun tour. Or Thursdays, we're at Ritchie's Wharf doing Reflections of Newcastle. We're in Blackville on Saturday doing the Dungarvan Hooper Dare the Dark experience at the Municipal Park. Every Sunday, Tom is at Middle Island doing his Old Roots, New Blossoms, the story of the famine ship Lushtok, and hopefully, we're just waiting to confirm. Every Tuesday, we're going to be in Bathurst.
That's right.
At the Doucette Hennessy House.
Oh, wow. That's going to be quite a time.
Yeah.
So, folks, the name of the company, Character Matters, Miramichi. If you're watching this on YouTube or listening to us on Spotify, head over to Facebook and Instagram, and please like and follow those pages. Once again, Character Matters, Miramichi.
Yes, indeed. And if you're enjoying this content, be sure to subscribe, and of course, like I say, share it with all those people in your family, your best friends, your worst enemies, people you meet on the side of the road. Let them know about this podcast, and to give us a watch, give us a like, and subscribe themselves.
All right, thanks everybody.